Hello, welcome back, all you Courage, Confidence, and Connections podcast fans. I am your host, Janice Debo. My guest today is Shelley Trumbly. I hope I didn't butcher that. It's been a while since we've seen each other. So, welcome, Shelley.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and it's fantastic seeing you again.
Yes, absolutely. I know it's been quite a few years, so you've got a lot to catch up on. And what I'd like to do is we'll talk about how courage, confidence, and connections has played a part in your life. And I know for a fact it has because you're a very courageous woman. I know that. We'll talk about how that played in and plays out because you've got some exciting things going on.
Most definitely. I feel like since you and I connected years ago,
Mm.
it's been a lifetime of change and a whole different business adventure. And it definitely took confidence and courage because it came at a time in my life that there was a whole lot of other things going on in the background. And so, interesting enough that you and I reconnected through this because we've gone through some similar things, but um, you were a confidence and a strength in my life during a certain time, which was, I can't even, I'm trying to figure out, was it like 2015, 2016, somewhere in there, maybe even before that, through a whole different um, networking. I mean, a whole different line of work. And so where has my life gone since then? Um, I am now running a nonprofit organization called Solid Ground. We do therapeutic services for kids with disabilities, for youth, kids with trauma, and we have a veteran program. And we actually serve anyone from age 3, and our oldest is 98. So it's across the board. We use horses and animals in those activities. And we started in 2017 with just one student, and we have been consistently serving over 1,000 people a year just in that short length of time. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a whole different adventure. I knew nothing of nonprofits or how to get one started or serving on a board. So everything took just diving in and learning all I could and talking to other people that had gone before me and figuring it out and starting from scratch. So a huge um, leap of courage, I guess, and confidence, but it didn't feel like that at the time. So I think it's one of those things that when you feel so strongly about something, I feel like this is what I was called to do. And when you feel so strongly and so passionate about something, it is really true that it is work, but it doesn't feel like work.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And it's with so you have horses in that you utilize to help people heal.
Yeah, we started Solid Ground out here on what was my family's cattle ranch. So the reason we started here is we kind of looked around Klamath for somebody that maybe had a covered arena or the horse property that we could lease. But since it was a new adventure and people weren't really sure the liability and things like that, and also the distance. We were offered a couple facilities, but they were it's about an hour of drive time, which isn't going to work for me to have to go feed horses in the morning. So we just decided to carve out a piece of the family ranch, and Solid Ground leases that. And it started from scratch. It was a pasture in 2017. And we don't have a covered arena yet, but we have an outdoor arena. We have a barn that was donated by somebody. The mayor of Klamath actually had it on her property, and it had collapsed. The roof had collapsed, but everything else was intact. And we were able to go get that barn and move it here and then have a roof built over it. So that was about almost a $70,000 barn that we were able to do for $5,000. So it's just been one little thing after another. And now we've grown to have a huge support system of our local community in child welfare for referrals, Cascade Health Alliance is a huge donor. They got us a classroom last year. Just 45 different businesses in town that support us and help keeping us going. But everything else is just grant funding, fundraising, doing different programs for like the Klamath tribe and different methods of revenue source. But again, it wouldn't happen if there wasn't actually a need in the community. So to kind of elaborate a little more on your question though, like it's not just horses, we do have a ranch, and so some of the other small animals play into that, but the majority is horses, and we are a professional association of therapeutic horsemanship center, so we're certified. We do everything we do is overseen by this, it's called PATH, so the professional association. They have the standards of what we're, how we can operate, a standard of safety, and then there's centers all over the world, like not just the United States. There's PATH centers all over the world. We're one of, I think it's about 850 centers now, and so we utilize horses in a lot of different ways. It's riding, or it's some mental health services. We have kids that are just at risk, or maybe foster care. So we do a lot of different programs, but mostly they utilize horses.
Yeah. What other kind of animals do you have there?
We have some pygmy goats. We have it's called our small animal program. So they're all minis. We have our pygmy goats, our miniature horse, our miniature donkey, bunny, little cow.
Mm.
So we have a lot of different animals. We mostly use those for what we call our farm program, and it's a lot of educational stuff for the community, kids in the community. We do farm camps. We do tours and birthday parties. We do like with our mental health program, they might be afraid of horses. So, but getting outside and sitting on the bench outside of the goats is really, it's amazing how that has kids open up.
Oh,
And so it's fantastic.
that's great.
Yeah.
I think donkeys are the coolest. I think they're awesome.
I They actually are. They're actually really good at teaching trust, because donkeys don't just trust just anybody, and donkeys, they want to be very sure about what you're asking them to do. So usually a donkey won't just let you come up with a halter and lead it off into, the pasture. They're gonna they'll take their little hoof and just test and make sure that they know where they're going, and they will not. They say a horse will run you off a cliff, but a donkey won't. But donkeys are definitely fantastic teachers, and if you come with them with some high energy, a lot of aggression, they will just run away from you. Like they will,
Hmm.
you have to kind of earn their trust. So they're fantastic for our program, and they're so cute, especially Mr. Smalls. He's only 30 inches tall. He's a miniature donkey.
Oh, oh,
He's, yeah. And he was like that. The lady we got him from, she couldn't catch him. So she kept his halter on because she couldn't catch him any other way. But now we don't have to do that. We have him here, and he seems to enjoy his job. It's a lot of fun.
that is
But yeah,
that is so fun. Well, I know you were a nurse for many, many years, is my recollection. And I have to ask though, what what inspired the transition? Because that is a pretty significant transition.
yeah, it is. But I feel like it actually merges together. I've been a nurse for almost 30 years, and I feel like when I grew up, when I was younger, I used to show horses. So like the horse world,
Mhm.
what has been a part of my life forever. But then as I raised my family, and that was on the back burner for years, my career as a nurse was at the forefront, and have been doing that, like I said, for many, many years. But when I first heard about therapeutic industry with horses, It was because my oldest son at the time was dating a girl in the nursing program, and she was actually from Bend. And she asked if she could keep her horse here because her horse was retiring from Healing Reins, which is a therapeutic center in Bend. And so I was like, oh, well, what's that? I mean, it caught my attention. And as I dove into it, I just had that passion right away. I was like, we have to have this in Klamath. This is an amazing thing that they're doing with horses. And I feel like it actually merged the nursing because of the fact that there's so much medical to what we do. Like, for example, they have to go through and have a medical release from their doctor, and just a lot of knowledge that the nursing helps to have as a background. But anyway, that's kind of where it started. I still do nursing. I just do it on a very small scale. I will probably merge all the way out, but I did work really hard to become a nurse. So I didn't want to really lose my nursing license quite yet. I wasn't ready for that. I'm doing it just a couple of patients a week, and I set my own schedule. So that works really well. Otherwise, I would not be able to do it. But one of the things when we serve kids with disabilities, it helps to have that background in nursing. It helps to know when you're making decisions on what's the right horse for that person. And some of I'm going to give you an example. The horse mimics the human gait. So if somebody is in a wheelchair and they are losing their ability to walk, or maybe they've lost their ability to walk, if you can get them on the back of the horse, they actually get the same therapeutic benefit as if they were walking. It improves core strength a lot. And also there was my first client in Medford that when I was volunteering at that center, she had MS. And when she would ride, they did a study in the physical therapy sessions outside of riding. They hit a plateau and she wasn't making progress, and they were working on the equipment, the balls, the different things that were there in the physical therapy department. But then they got her on a horse and her core strength improved 40%. And so it was a huge change. And so it's just fantastic for people that are losing their ability, like from a physical perspective, but
Mhm.
also it helps them feel like quote unquote normal. They get to do this activity that they wouldn't normally get to do.
That is great. That is
Yeah.
really great. Wow. I'm curious too, as a youngster, and you said you were around horses a lot. What part of your young life growing up has had an influence and an impact on what you're doing now?
All of it. I look back and realize just how important it all was, learning how to read a horse behavior, when, just knowing that so well, like it's a part of me, is crucial to the safety of the individuals. You have to be able to recognize things quickly with horses. And we have 17 different horses here that at any given time, because we have so many programs. So you have to be able to tell also when a horse doesn't like this program, when it's not a good fit, when they're getting burnout. Because one thing about horses is they feel what you feel. They can feel every emotion. So if we're dealing with a lot of kids with trauma, they're bringing that and the horses are feeling that. And so it can get to them just like it can people. So
Mm.
we do have to give them breaks. We do have to rotate them through. And typically it's about 5 years in a program like this that a horse will need some time off. So, we have to keep that in mind. And everything that you do around horses, being comfortable around them, being able to read them, that is huge in doing this. So I just feel like all the dots of my life are connected. And you don't think about it at the time when you're growing up, and the things that you're passionate about and the things that you love. Well, usually there's a reason for that. And, this just worked out that I could do it as a career, and I still love them. It's just different.
That is great. I've heard of programs where they let the horse pick you put the person in proximity and let the horse that is drawn to that person. Is that what you guys do, or do you do it differently?
Some of it is that's more of our mental health programs. They don't always have to be mental health. It can be our ground connection. But for our mental health programs, utilizing horses because they do feel what you feel and they can sense. So sometimes when you're trying to build trust or build connection or a number of reasons why you might do that activity, it's very helpful. So it's not like the only activity we do, but it is a part of our groundwork and a part of our mental health programs. And it's just amazing to see somebody's life changed. And it's hard to sit here and explain every reason why, but connection is huge. We need connection, and if not all of us have it with people. I mean, sometimes there's been trauma in their families, and there's been a reason that they no longer can trust. And you bring them out and they'll trust a horse before they'll trust a human sometimes.
Mhm.
And through time and consistency, they'll come to trust us as well. But that is really important for a lot of people, especially like our veterans program is the same. They get connection with the horse, but then they've learned to also connect with each other and have a camaraderie. They've made friendships. They go out of their house now where they used to not go out of their house. So it does a lot of different things for different people. But it's it's really simple. Like, it's not a complicated process where we go, oh, now this is step one, step two. The horse does the work. The horse connects with the person. The horse, yes, we do a series of activities, or if they're riding, there's some safety things we have to do. But
Mhm.
for the most part, the horse is the connector, and the horse is the reason that there's healing going on.
I just love that. I recently interviewed Tammy Hardy. Of course, we're mutual friends with her. And I find the work that you guys do fascinating. I've had horses, I've owned horses, I've also been injured by one. And if I'd have listened to the horse when I was riding, I would not have gotten injured. But I didn't know how to read a horse. And I find that it takes time, but horses, they have such an awesome ability to heal our hearts and our minds. And I think what you're doing is just very profound. You and Tammy both. Uh,
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for making that connection with her. Yeah, I appreciate it.
oh, she's terrific. She really is. She came through some really hard stuff as well. And usually the hard stuff we come through builds this and
Yeah.
the courage, the confidence, and the connections. And the connections is where, we all come in, connecting with each other. But having something like that that you're so passionate about is vital in our lives. Vital. How
I
much
feel like,
Mhm.
oh, I feel like one of the key things about when Solid Ground was started is everything around me was falling apart. That's when we had a huge winter storm that we
Mhm.
hadn't had in a while, and my mom fell and hit her head, and they found out she had a brain aneurysm. And I went through a divorce, and our hay barn collapsed. I lost my horse. The year later, a girl that was like a daughter to me committed suicide at 23 years old. And it was a series of the most painful events in my life, while at the same time, God was just building this amazing place that I couldn't have done. I mean, I look back on it and I still don't know how every day I could just get out of bed, because it was the most painful period of time in my life. And yet we would come and do a session, and it was so joy filled to see it change a life, and it made it worth it, even though the day might have been the worst day of your life leading up to the session. And we were all just volunteering at the time. We had jobs, and there was only a couple of us, and we had clients going through some pretty hard stuff. But I feel like if you've gone through hard things in your life, it just prepares you to be able to help other people, because you understand and you know that the pain is real, and you still have to get up each day and move forward. So I know that there was a bigger plan, and it prepared me in a way that for the clients we're serving out here, there is a deep understanding of what they're going through a lot of the times, and also grief and loss, and just how you feel like you need something to connect to. And it's really neat to see this place be able to do that for so many different kinds of people. And because there is hope, and it does get better. And and staying connected to people that have also been through things like you, and just to have that support and that encouragement. And we all need the people that are the wind beneath our wings, so to speak.
Yes, we do. But one thing that stuck out, and you talked about the age range of the people you've served. I'm really curious about the 98-year-old. I'm just so curious. Can you talk a little bit about that story without giving names or anything? Because, a lot of people, as we age, a lot of people just tend to give up and lay down and get ready to go. Tell me about that 98-year-old person. I'm curious.
Yeah, we had a program where one of our assisted living places in town wanted to bring out some of their seniors. And so we started doing that. They would come every Friday, and they would groom horses, or they would just sit and visit. Like, they needed connection as well. And there just happened to be a couple little ladies that they had lived in this assisted living this whole time together. And they had never really talked to each other. Well, they came out to solid ground and they sat there and started visiting. Turns out they were related to each other, and they didn't even know. They had both, grown up here, I guess lost contact. But anyway, she was able to come out and celebrate her 98th birthday at solid ground. So she didn't ride, but she did get to groom the horse and do some other activities for her 98th birthday. And also just being able to come out with the on the bus with the seniors.
Right.
You should have seen at the facility, these are the same people that were walking around with walkers really slow, and you would think that they couldn't hardly get around. But the bus would bring them out here, and they would set those walkers aside, and they would just start walking to the horse. They would tell stories, and the administrator said it was like they came back to life again. So I think it was just, the small little things that matter. An outing, being able to connect with nature, to connect with horses, to connect with each other in a kind of a small group setting. It
Mhm.
just, I mean, the stories they would tell, and how it brought back memories of their childhood and when they had horses. And it was just amazing to watch. It was like, yeah. And then that happened clear up until when COVID happened and they couldn't come back out. So unfortunately, that has never really gotten there. We've been working on getting them to come back out. Their bus was broken down for a little while, but trying really hard, because it gave them a reason and a purpose to want to get up each day, and also to feel like they were making a difference. So for them to come out and be able to groom the horses and feel like they were helping us or having an impact, that
Mhm.
was really huge, and really needed in people as they age and grow older, because they lose their sense of purpose. Same with veterans, they often feel like that too.
I can believe that. I worked as an activities director in a retirement home, and I worked for 5 years with the independent residents. They are they said a lot of them said they were busier after retirement than they were when they were working. But they love to get out, and I think our culture has not done us any favors in our treatment of our seniors and our elders. They have stories to tell. They have lives that have impacted other people. That is, yeah, I'd really push that connection, because that's a valuable source for them to get out and, I mean, and groom the horses. That is so cool. I hope
Yeah.
I hope you share videos again if at some point about that, because what encouragement that would be.
It was one of our favorite programs. Also, what I think it was really cool is it connected different age group, different generations. So you'd
Right.
have younger helpers and volunteers that were just loving to hear them tell their stories. And so it made them feel like they got to share something and somebody was actually interested in listening. And I thought that was really, really neat to see all the different ages of people that were able to listen and be there and help them. But also they gained as much out of it too. I mean, this girl was in her 20s that was one of our volunteers, and she just loved hearing them tell their stories and would ask them questions. And it just, they were just so happy. Their smile was so big. So I thought that was, that might not be everybody, but she has a heart for older people, and she was perfect. And I think, again, that kind of goes back to choosing staff and volunteers that we have here. They have to be the right people. They have to have a heart for what they're doing. If you don't like working with seniors, you're probably not going to be working in the senior program. Same with veterans. We just have great people, and I feel like they love the work they do. So many volunteers. We have 75 volunteers on the roster, about 20 pretty active weekly volunteers. So that's huge, for a town our size. It's really big. And it just gives them, I don't know, they just feel really good to help other people. It made me realize how important volunteerism is, whether it's here or anywhere else. Giving back. I think for anyone, young or older, gives you a sense of purpose and value. And I think we all need that.
I think so too. My whole premise of doing this particular podcast, and the name came to me, when I was writing one day. But I love giving people a platform to tell their stories and impact others and make new connections. I want it to impact as many as possible. And also, it encourages other people. Tell your story, and somebody might be on the verge of something very traumatic, or maybe they came through it and they need to know that people like us have come through things. And we're
Yeah.
sitting here not afraid to tell our stories and to encourage other people they can make it. It's
Yeah.
so important. And I love the senior aspect. I had no idea that was, so I hope you can get that going again. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. You know what might be fun to do is to get senior communities outside the area that could do a road trip,
Yeah.
you
Little
know,
field trip.
little field trip, because I did that with my folks. I would take them places and find a special place to eat and visit with places like yours. So I would think there are not a lot of senior communities within 100-mile radius that take a road trip.
Yeah, we'd love it. I think it's so good for that. We'd have just cookies and lemonade. Sometimes they would bring it, sometimes we'd bring it. And it's kind of set up similar to our veterans, where we share a meal or some muffins and coffee or whatever. And because I think that is connections, connecting with other people, and somehow food, sharing a food or a meal or something together helps build that connection. And so does the horse. But also just to know, if some people came and they didn't want to really pet or groom horses, they just wanted to be there. They wanted to be next to them. They wanted to be in the environment,
Mhm.
but maybe they didn't really even like horses, but they still liked being around them.
Mhm.
And so it was all, we get that with our veterans, we get it with our seniors, and they would work into it. If they felt like grooming, fine. But if they just wanted to be with everyone else and sit at the picnic table and share a muffin. So I think there's just value in those things, like you said, the adventure and getting out. And we don't ever get too old for adventure.
No,
I think we need
it
that.
may, yeah, it may change the dynamics of it, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Now, how do you get your horses? Do people volunteer or surrender them to you guys, and you train the horses in the work that you do?
We get them from a variety of ways. We've really only had to purchase three, and that they were at a reasonable price. Most are donated, or most ideal situation is when we can share with the owner. So we have a few horses where they're owned by someone else, but they allow them to come and be out here. One of them is here from April to October every year, and he goes home for the winter. So it's kind of a win-win. They get to be with him still. We don't have the winter costs of his care. and then he's fresh and ready to come back every year. He loves his job. And there's others that they stay here year round, but they do have homes. So if they got burnt out, or if they decided this wasn't a good fit anymore, they do have homes to go to. And then some are just donated for various reasons. One girl was going off to college across the United States and just wanted him to have a good home and a good place and be loved. And other times they just can't care for them anymore, maybe a rescue situation. And it doesn't usually take a whole lot of training for our program, and they also don't always have to be perfectly sound. If they're a riding horse, yes, they do. But if maybe they're gonna just be for mental health. I mean, they can't be completely lame, but they can have some, they can be older. Our oldest horse is 34. So in human years, that's 94. But he's still going strong for his age. We don't ride him, but we use him for summer camp, grooming, and leading. So a variety of different ways we get horses, but it's usually word of mouth. Somebody's heard about us and they recommend a horse that somebody wants to get, let us borrow. Just this summer, we've got 2 horses that we borrowed just for camp, but they both said if they can stay as long as we need them. They are incredibly trained horses, retired show horses. So they just fit right in. They don't take a lot of extra training. They had the right temperament. And so those are the opportunities. And it just came from somebody knew we had a need because one of our horses was lame, and they talk to the right person. And that's usually how we find horses. We don't really have to go looking too much. They usually come faster than we're ready. So we have to be careful that we don't take on too many, but at the same hand, you got to be ready for some of these we have 4 older horses that are in their 30s. So, their time is not going to be forever.
Yeah. Now, volunteers, how can people reach you, and what do you need volunteers for?
So we have a variety. It's not just horses. We have some volunteers that like to come out and just water the flowers, help take care of the pumpkins. Maybe they'd rather help with the dinner fundraiser, or a lot of people enjoy our Veterans Day just by like volunteering to bring muffins or a meal for that day, because that's really not working with a lot of the horses all the time. They can address envelopes. Like there's just a variety of ways they can help if they don't want to work around the horses. Otherwise, the main volunteer roles would be helping with the barn, grooming the horses. We have one that's just going to come sit with the goats because she just loves goats and wants to just come sit with the goats. So just spending time with them helps them, it helps us. So a variety of things. Most people, surprisingly enough, like to come clean stalls, and they like to you have to walk. There's 3 barns. You don't have to, they can drive, but they enjoy when the weather's nice, they enjoy just kind of walking from one barn to the next, filling up the waters. What else? Cleaning grooming buckets, organizing. One girl was cleaning the classroom. That was kind of her heart, what she liked to do. So she would dust and vacuum, and
Nice.
so just a variety of things. Or you could also help with camps and be a camp leader. So where you're just taking the kids around, or you're just working with the kids.
Okay.
So yeah,
A
so many different ways. Yeah.
lot of options.
In order to be a volunteer, it's on our website and you just click the volunteer tab. We do require background checks for all of our volunteers because we're working with high risk kids and teens, as well as just a protection for the organization. And then we have a volunteer coordinator that reaches out and they go through a one-on-one orientation so they're comfortable with everything. And then there's a link where they get to sign up for what they want to help with, or they can reach out and let Rena know. And a lot of people don't have any horse experience. They don't have to have any horse experience to learn and to help. So I think
Wow,
that's important.
great. So all of your information will be available for our audience at the end of the recording, at the end of the broadcast. Now, since we're going to wrap it up, what parting advice, words of wisdom, or anything you'd like to share as your final part of this? What do you have?
I think if there's a dream in your heart, if there's something that you have been thinking about a lot that you would like to do, but you're maybe afraid to get started or you don't know what to do,
Mhm.
just start one foot in front of the other, learn what you need to learn, and surround yourself with people that can help and guide and direct. But if you wait for everything to be the perfect time or the perfect situation, what I have found is that never happens. I mean, there's never going to be the right day
Mhm.
to learn more about what you want to do. And then don't be afraid to do it. And nothing is impossible.
Absolutely. I mean, you're the epitome of that one, I'll tell you that. You stepped into something really big and you're changing lives. And so thankful we stayed in touch. We might want to do a joint podcast with Tammy sometime and find some others
Yeah.
involved in all of this. I think that do a horse panel.
Yeah, for sure.
Be great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Shelley. And
you're
thank
welcome.
you to our audience. You'll find anything you want to do if you're in Shelley's area, or if you want to take a road trip and just go see what she's all about. Maybe you're thinking about doing something similar. She's got a heart of gold and she'll help you any way she can. Realistically, she has a full plate, but no, I don't want to volunteer. I don't really do a volunteer here, but too bad I'm too far away to make a difference. But I'm hoping this will make a difference. So
Yeah.
thank you, and thank you to our audience for listening to another Courage, Confidence, and Connections podcast. And I'll be back with another episode with a different visitor. Never know who's going to show up on this one.